We're Kate and Katrina, and this is our GMC van.
In this video, we're going to be talking about all things electricity.
One aspect of building a van that can be pretty intimidating is the electrical system. What kind of batteries do I need? Should I get solar panels? How am I supposed to wire all of this together? If you're like us, then those are the questions that keep you up at night while planning out your conversion.
We did a ton of research and we came up with our own solution that was simple, effective, and left room for expansion if we ever decide to upgrade.
In this video, we're going to help you plan out your electrical system to see if our solution would work for you. How much power do I need? There are a couple of important questions that you need to answer before you start planning out your electrical system. And the first one is, what is everything in my van that is going to need power? The answer to that question is going to be completely dependent on you and what your essentials are.
For us, we have a 12-volt fridge and a MaxxAir fan that need to be powered constantly. On top of that, we also need to be able to charge our phones, camera batteries, laptops, and watches somewhat frequently. We also need to be able to run a blender in the morning to make those scrumptious smoothies.
The lights in our van came with the original conversion, so they're powered off of the van battery up front.
Making your own list of electrical items is going to help you choose how much battery capacity you need in your van.
Once you have that list of electrical items, it's time to do some math. But don't worry, it's pretty simple.
The capacity of a deep cycle AGM or lithium battery is measured in amp hours. This tells you how much current can be drawn from the battery until it is depleted. Keep in mind that AGM batteries should only be depleted to 50%. To determine your battery bank capacity, plan out a typical day of electrical usage. Do some research on how many amps each of your devices pulls and multiply them by the numbers of hours that you will need to use them each day. Remember, you can always divide the number of watts on a DC device by 12 to find the number of amps a device uses, since we are working in a 12-volt system. Let's use our setup as an example. Our roof fan draws 9 watts, or 0.75 amps, on speed 5. If we use our fan at this speed for 12 hours, it will use up 108 watt hours, or 9 amp hours. Our fridge pulls 36 watts, or 3 amps, when the compressor is running, and only 2 watts, or 0.167 amps, when it isn't. If the fridge runs for 5 hours each day, it will use 180 watt hours, or 15 amp hours. Adding in a couple of phone charges, camera battery charges, and running the blender for 5 minutes each morning, our total power consumption for a day comes to around 32 amp hours, or 375 watt hours. Of course, this is an average estimate and power consumption could be lower or higher than this number on any given day. Because AGM batteries can only be depleted to 50%, we would need a minimum of 64 amp hours of battery capacity to power 1 day of van life. And this would only be 32 amp hours of lithium batteries, which can be almost fully depleted.
We want to briefly mention inverters because it's an important thing to consider when planning out an electrical system. Some electrical items require DC power, while others require AC power. Now, batteries only supply DC power, so if you have something that requires AC, like a laptop or something like that, you're going to need an inverter to change that DC power over to AC. Keep in mind that inverters are rated by the continuous amount of watts that they can supply at one time. The size of your inverter should be determined by the maximum amount of AC power that you're going to need at one time. How are the batteries going to get charged?
Having a reliable way to keep your batteries charged is essential when you're on the road. Many van lifers opt to mount solar panels to the roofs of their van, providing a constant charge to their batteries, but only if the sun's out. Although we don't have solar panels installed on our roof, we did leave room for them in case we ever decide to upgrade in the future.
Another common way to charge your batteries is with your vehicle while it's running. With a standard electrical system with a separate auxiliary battery, you would need something like a DC to DC charger or a battery isolator. These devices allow you to charge your batteries with the alternator of your vehicle.
A third option to consider is shore power. This is when you charge your battery from an outside power source, such as a power outlet on a house or in a campground. If you plan on staying in established campgrounds often, you should consider getting set up for shore power.
What's my budget? One last thing to consider about your electrical system is the cost. If you're planning to spend a lot of money, a couple of lithium batteries with some solar panels and a DC to DC charger might be the way to go. If you're looking for a more budget solution, a simple AGM battery with a battery isolator might meet your needs.
This leads us to the power solution that we came up with for our van.
The electrical system in our van is centered around the Jackery Explorer 500. This is a power pack with 512 watt hours of capacity, a 500 watt pure sine wave inverter, and DC, USB, and AC outlets. It can be charged 3 different ways, with a wall outlet, a 12 volt car outlet, or a solar panel. We don't have a solar panel for it yet, so we recharge it at the house before trips and with the van while it's running. We do plan on getting a solar panel for it soon because we can only spend about 2 days in one spot before our battery dies.
There are a couple of reasons why we decided to go with the Jackery rather than a more traditional electrical setup. For one, it costs about half as much as what a traditional setup would. We actually got ours on sale for $420, which was a stellar deal for us.
We also went with the Jackery because of its simplicity. With this system, we didn't need to worry about wiring anything together or getting a separate inverter. It's also a lot lighter and more space efficient, which is important in our little van. Okay, so now I'm going to walk you guys through our electrical system. So in this cabinet down here, we keep our battery. And like I said, it's the Jackery 500. So what we did is we took an extension cord that had a little outlet box on the end of it, and we ran that through the wall and then into the battery compartment. And what that let us do is plug into the AC outlet on the battery, and then we can use the AC outlets up here. So we can keep the battery away and still charge our phones and run the blender just from the wall. The 2 main things that we have to have powered are the fridge and the fan up there. And those are both ran off of 12 volt DC. Our battery only has one car port, one 12 volt car port. And so what I did is I got a splitter that turns one 12 volt into 3. And this allows us to plug in our fridge and the fan at the same time. So for the fan, what we did is we just ran the wires back behind the cabinet, and I actually bought a 12 volt plug and wired it to the wires of the fan so that I could just plug it into that splitter down here. So to use the fan, what you need to do is come in here, turn the DC outlets on, and then you can turn the fan on. So like I said, the DC outlet also charges our fridge. Our fridge is the 50 quart or 50 liter fridge from ICECO, and it's 12 volts, so it's just plugged into that splitter as well. And as you can see, I can turn this on and the fan at the same time. If you want to check out how we installed this fan, click on the link over here. We charge our battery at home before we leave on a trip, just so we don't have to rely on the van to charge it up as we're driving there. So we'll get it topped up to 100 and then put it in here. And as we're driving, we actually ran a 12 volt extension cord to a 12 volt plug that was already in the van. And this allows us to just charge off of the van battery. So it just runs from all the way back here into our battery compartment. And this gives us about 80 watts while we're driving, which is pretty good. However, if it is dead, it would take quite a bit of driving to get it charged back up. Once we get a solar panel for our battery, we won't have to worry about that as much. That is it for this video. We hope this helped you plan out your electrical system for your van.
Let us know which electrical system you end up going with in the comments below.
And if you have any questions, just let us know and we will make sure to answer all of those.
See you in the next video.